Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 44 of Pocket Edition. I'm your host, Sully, and today I'm joined by my other regular co-host in Mark. How are you today, Mark?
Heyo, I'm good. I've been
Fantastic.
Lost in the Wild West.
Ooh, and we just had a lengthy chat about Red Dead Redemption 2. Unfortunately, we didn't record any of that.
And therefore won't talk about it again.
However, we have vowed to record all of our pre-show chats now because we often miss probably chat that's probably half the time more interesting than the episodes. Which sounds terrible. So I think, Mark, as we discussed, we'll touch base next week before record. And who knows, depending on that chat, you might see some pre-show conversation regarding Mark's thoughts on Red Dead Redemption 2, which so far, I wouldn't say mixed, maybe yet to reach your level of original anticipation for this game.
Yeah,
it's fairly correct.
It's sort of a sense of waiting for it.
Yeah,
like I'm waiting for the game while I'm playing the game.
So we will elaborate on that next week and give you a little bit more context as well. But today, Mark, we're talking about the PlayStation 1. Is it the Mini?
I've been calling it the Mini, but it's technically called the PlayStation Classic.
PlayStation Classic, that's right. We've got our launch lineup anyway. Now, admittedly, I am the PlayStation 1 universal nooblet when it comes to PlayStation 1. I did not touch this console at all upon its original release. I was very much entrenched in my Nintendo ways, especially with the N64. So I am aware with this launch lineup though, Mark, that it is controversial, basically because it's missing some big heavy hitters that really defined the PlayStation 1 era. Some for obvious reasons, like we've just had the Crash Bandicoot remaster, the Spyro trilogy is also getting a remaster, so it makes sense for those titles to not be present on the system. But what are your thoughts on the lineup, Mark? Somebody who has spent more time with the system, is there any glaring omissions that you felt must be present that aren't?
It's such a strange lineup because of the Mini itself, because it's the PlayStation 1 before the DualShock joystick. Which basically means that you can't have any games from when the PlayStation was sort of at its like peak, which was the awesomeness of like joystick controls. So not a whole lot of racing games or things like that made full use of the joystick. So no original Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Where it would have been cool to have the original Tomb Raider.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the PlayStation 1.
We touched on this last week in our kind of catch-up episode after we came back from our break. But what are your thoughts on the lack of dual stick sticks?
I think it's just odd because this is your sort of chance to recapture nostalgia and things like that in the same way that Nintendo did with their NES and SNES. But why limit yourself into the console from an earlier level that not a whole lot of people would have played? A lot of people would have played the console later on when it became a DualShock. And the DualShock's so iconic now that it would have been cool.
Do you think it's because it didn't look old enough or nostalgic enough? That's maybe the reason they've forgone the extra stick?
It might have been. It also might have been a cost thing because the PlayStation Mini is more expensive than the SNES and NES Mini. It does come with 2 controllers, but so did the others as well. But I don't know. I feel like it's just Sony going like, "Yeah, we're Sony. We know you'll buy it," sort of thing. I don't know. I wouldn't know unless they actually stated it, and I doubt they would actually state it.
Yeah, it's just one of those bizarre choices of why wouldn't you? Because all the games that are currently existing on that PlayStation 1 Classic could and definitely still be playable with a more modernized DualShock with the extra thumbstick.
Yeah,
it doesn't lose anything; it just gains a thumbstick.
Yeah, like I'm looking at games like Twisted Metal and Ridge Racer that are coming to it. It's like, those would have been perfect with the DualShock.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the whole point of why they needed the joysticks in the first place.
Yeah.
But like, as far as the lineup goes, I've played a decent amount of it. But something that I noticed immediately is that a large chunk of it is Japanese, which, like, that's sort of how it goes. But
Well, yeah, with the PlayStation early on, definitely.
but also like quite niche Japanese, which is fine in my sort of thing because I love niche titles. But weird because of the way they're marketing it. They're marketing it to a very wide audience and a general console.
To everyone, literally everyone, yeah.
And you're saying like, okay, we're going to market it to everyone. But we've got Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, which, to those that don't know, is a very, very niche arcade spin-off of Street Fighter, where it's basically the characters chibi-fied and you verse each other by playing Tetris with one another.
That sounds ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
it's
that
ridiculous.
is literally me. I would have no idea what that game is.
And like, I love the game because I played it ages ago, and like, I only know it because I played it ages ago. But that is as niche as you can get. Why not actually chuck in a Street Fighter?
Yep.
Because like Street Fighter had a huge like identity on PlayStation, and it would have been cool because you've got Tekken 3. You could have had a Street Fighter to pair with it, because you could have had more than one fighting game. And Tekken was sort of the like, they owned the 3D arena, and Street Fighter owned the 2D arena.
And we touched base on this last week as well, regarding perhaps licensing issues, or because there's remasters or existing franchises that are currently going strong. But I mean, in terms of Street Fighter, like, when was the last Street Fighter? Like, it's got to be like 2-3 years ago now, right?
Yeah. So like Street Fighter 5 came out.
Was it Capcom?
2 years ago. It was 2 or 3. I think it was 2. And they released the arcade edition this year, which is just an update. It was a free update to the main game. And they've remastered Street Fighter 2 in multiple collections this year.
So I mean, like,
so why not put it on again?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, seemingly there is some kind of licensing issue that's kind of hamstrung them with this classic release, because Street Fighter is Capcom, correct?
Yes, and Capcom's very, very free with their stuff usually. Like the SNES Mini, it's got Mega Man X, which is it's got Street Fighter as well. It's like Capcom love to hand out their IP so people know.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. It's interesting with this release, though. It's almost like Sony themselves, at least in Street Fighter's case, with what we know about Capcom and how freely they do let some of their properties fly around a little bit on re-releases and remasters and all that crap. Seemingly, they've tried to play safe ball just with themselves. Like, they don't want to step on the toes of any future titles that are maybe perhaps in the works or getting remasters. We know that is definitely the case with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. Those are pretty much why those games aren't present on this system. And the same can be said for Resident Evil 2 as well. We know that that's getting a remaster, so why would they release the original?
Yeah, but like, talking about Resident Evil, it's good that they put the first game on the Mini.
That's very true.
Because, everyone needs that really cringy dialogue and original awesome game. But one of the things that it sort of jumped out at me when I was looking at the list was that they had Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. Because floating around the news, like, they're going to remake the game soon as like a full-blown remake. And it'd be cool because now you can sort of get people into it beforehand. But it's like, you're looking at the list. You've got FF7, massive game, really, like,
it's important. Been everywhere.
Important title. It's been everywhere. It will be everywhere very shortly. Yep. It'll be on Xbox. It'll be on Nintendo, and things like that. You've got the original Grand Theft Auto, which is sort of take it or leave it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Thing. Like I think it's cool because I never played the original.
I think people will find that more fascinating than anything to see where it came from.
Most likely. I think that's mostly why it's there.
Yeah.
Then you've got the original Metal Gear Solid, which is a fantastic game. Hard to play in long sessions when you look at it now.
Yeah.
It will give you migraines very badly. But fantastic game. That was a good choice by them. The original Rayman as well.
That's cool. I like that.
But then you've got games like Wild Arms, which is pretty niche JRPG, but like some people know it a bit more than say some of the others. But like Final Fantasy is the big title. You've got Wild Arms, and then you've got Revelations Persona, which you may or may not know the Persona series.
Yep.
Persona 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only became popular, around 3 and 4. Most popular with 5, one of the most amazing games I've played recently. The first 2 games no one talks about for a reason.
Yeah.
Because they weren't that engaging, and the Persona series is a spin-off of an even more niche series, and things like that. But you don't need that many JRPGs on this mini. And you don't need niche stuff. Like I said before, you're appealing to a general market. Why are
Which
you
the
doing
bulk
this stuff?
of that will be like Western, I'd assume.
It's just it's very odd, and I don't understand why they chose that. Like, it's cool for my thing because I never played the original Persona, but it's sort of like how you said with Grand Theft Auto. I'd see it just to see where it started. I don't intend to.
I mean,
really get through it.
I honestly feel like it must be licensing issues. That's probably why it's a little bit lackluster, and they've had to pad out their list with some more interesting niche choices. Like a very popular one that I've seen floating around is Symphony. Castlevania Symphony of the... Is it the Night? Symphony of the Night?
Symphony of the Night.
And I think it was Wave Racer as well.
Yeah, people were saying Wave Racer needed to be on it, but isn't.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, we'll never know.
And like you mentioned Symphony of the Night, which is interesting because it's Konami. Metal Gear Solid's Konami, and Metal Gear Solid's on it, but Symphony of the Night isn't. But last week, Symphony of the Night was released on PlayStation 4 as a download title.
Oh, there you go.
And so that's pretty much what they did.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a shame because, like, I would have liked it on the Mini, but I did download it on the PS4 because I've always maintained it, like, whether or not anyone else agrees with me. Every little bit of praise that game gets, 100% deserves. I loved it. Loved it to bits.
I do have a bit of a fond spot for the Castlevania series, although I am shit.
Yeah, see, like I have trouble getting through to the true ending in each one. I usually get like one of the endings and then stop.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've played 30 hours, that's enough.
Yep, that's a fair call.
But yeah, like Symphony of the Night's the one that made that Metroidvania phrasing, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because up until then, it was just stage by stage.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, though, Mark, how do you feel the PlayStation Classic will fare with its current lineup? Do you think it's going to affect sales at all, or do you think it's just going to go gangbusters like we've seen with the Nintendo Classic mini systems?
I don't think it's going to go gangbusters. Look, I know Sony has a track record of producing enough consoles to support demand.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I know that they have a track record of doing that, and Nintendo have a track record of undersupplying because they're not really sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but like since then they have fixed it. But like the NES Mini pre-sold out like twice over. The SNES Mini pre-sold out once, and then they made enough anyway.
I mean, obviously, nostalgia is the main driving force, I think, for these systems. Like,
yes,
right? Because you can get these games in many other places, whether you have the original system or you're getting the re-downloads on a current system. So, I mean, I think it's very dependent on how much nostalgia is attached to the PlayStation 1, which I don't think it's anywhere near as close to what you would see with the SNES or the NES.
Yeah, see, I've always felt that sometimes consoles have personality. And I felt like the Nintendo consoles have personality.
Yeah.
Especially the SNES, because its controller was so colourful and unique at the time. Whereas PlayStation's this grey thing. Like the actual console, I think, is iconic, but the controllers, not until they got the joysticks, I didn't think they were iconic.
Yeah, it looks like the 90s, man. Like, it looks like the visual representation of the 90s in console form.
Exactly.
And a lot of the 3D games do too.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, in terms of sales, like I feel like the reason why the Nintendo ones pre-sold out is because, one, they had a stellar lineup, but also because those lineups were announced the second pre-orders opened.
Yep.
Pretty much. Like,
Absolutely.
Sony opened up pre-orders for this console well in advance, and only now telling us the full lineup. And I imagine people that did pre-order might back out.
Yeah.
Because they were sort of hoping that the remaining 15 or whatever titles that were unknown until today were going to be amazing titles. We're going to blow everyone's minds.
They probably should have just dropped it from the get-go. All 20 games. Here it is. Because, we all knew that was going to be the case. Like, we all knew that the heavy hitters would be in that first few that they announced.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, like, in comparison to Nintendo's efforts with their classic systems, like, yeah, their lineups have been better for their NES and SNES mini systems. But again, a lot of those titles that are present on, I think, on the NES and SNES, a good portion of those games Nintendo own. There is no licensing issues.
Yeah, it was like they could just bang it on a
they can do whatever the fuck
on
they
a computer
want.
chip and like go like you're done. Yeah, that's pretty much what's pretty much happening.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. Will you be buying or have you pre-ordered one of these PlayStation 1 classic systems? What is missing for you? Are there any childhood games that are not present on the system that you feel absolutely should be, or at least you would love to see them present? Or are you like me? Do you see the value in this system by hacking it and emulating? Let us know down below in the comments. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode. If you're listening to us on one of the popular podcast services, being SoundCloud and iTunes, be sure to come on over and check out our YouTube channel, where you'll find a variety of other content in the form of news, reviews, and other bits and bobs. Until next week, guys, have a good one.